Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Conversations with Tiffany, the turning point, where I host conversations with individuals who have faced a life's challenge, whether it's personal, mental, physical, social, and even sometimes spiritual. Yet they don't stay in that place. From that situation, it was a turning point where it propelled them to push out and to create something new that lifts positivity back into the world. And so without further ado, I have a guest, Miss Erin Catherine Bruce. This woman is, yes, an epic woman. And all of my guests are celebrities to me because they bring this essence about themselves that you can reach and you can sense even through Facebook, Instagram, social media. There's this presence about them. And with Miss Erin, there's no difference. I am so excited. I'm doing a little something different today. I'm allowing spirit to move the way that it needs to move, like I always do. However, I'm not going to do music this time. I'm going to bring her in because this woman has a story or journey that she's sharing, and I'm honored to have her on. So if you would, make sure you share this live with 3 to 5 of your friends. I know we all got them, right? So share this live. And make sure you follow her, Erin Catherine Bruce. Hello, hello. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to usher her in now. Hello, Erin.
Hi, can you see me and hear me?
Yes, beautiful. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Let me just first say thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be a be a light that you are.
Aw.
Um, your journey has definitely inspired and will continue to inspire those in and around the world. And just for you to take the time out to be a guest here is just truly an honor and a privilege.
You're so,
Um,
thank you so much.
so, Miss Erin, could you let the people know who you are and at the present time, and then we'll journey on back, if you will.
Who I am at the present time. Okay, wow. Well, gosh, nutshell. Um, I right now what I want to say that I am is a survivor of the loss of the greatest love I've ever known and I've ever seen. Um, I was just married to the most epic man for 30 years, and we created 4 I call superhumans. My daughter's saying, "You on there, hi Lily." And they are 30 down to 19, 3 girls, 1 boy. And we've just, over the last year, had to learn how to live without him and what to do having lost him. And that's what the last year and a half plus has been about. And we've just dedicated ourselves. I keep telling my kids the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is so that they don't have another loss and more trauma in me. And because if I have to be here without him, I'm going to feel as good as I possibly can. So that's kind of like, when you say like, who am I right now? That's kind of like what I am right now. It's just, what can I do to be okay before heaven? You know?
Well, ma'am, do you have your tissue? Because I think this is going to be one of those moments. I want to, let's talk about Mr. Bruce.
Okay.
How did you all meet?
We met in Bible college. I grew up in a really small church community type of childhood, and everyone was going to the same little Bible college. And so it wasn't like, who do you want to be and what do you want to do? It was like, when you graduate from a little Christian school, you go to this college. And that's what I did. And I didn't know anything more than that. And he, on the other hand, had a lot of other choices, but felt like God was calling him to go to this specific college, which was actually really different than like his church upbringing. And
Wow.
so felt like he always says that God called him to go there so he could get me. And so that it feels very, very, very true. It felt like that was a true thing for all of the years we were together. So anyways, we met at college, and I had such a deep desire to have that. I was filtering out and dating a lot. And when I
Yes.
came, what's up?
Yes.
Oh,
As you should date, right?
yeah. And I was really seeking and to try to find a certain kind of love and to be loved a certain kind of way and a certain kind of man. And I had never in my life, in all of my seeking, which I did a lot, like I really looked and went for it, you know. And when I found him, I never met anyone like him. He was just everything and all the things that I could possibly desire. And he just literally got better with time. He really. So we dated for 2.5 years, and then we got married in 1992. We were married for 30 years. Yeah.
One of the things I was looking at your profile and looking at everything, one of the things that's resonant was that he was the whole man, if I could put the picture correctly.
Mm.
He was he was gentle, he was loving, and he had a sense
Yeah.
of humor,
Yep.
and you knew that God was there
Yeah.
and present, was the center of his life. And he loved you as he loved God.
Yeah.
And I think that people take those vows and don't in essence get that.
Mm.
Many who are watching are probably saying, "Hey, I'm married, or I'm dating, or I'm looking, um, and I'm married for 24 years." And of course, those vows were just, that that 2 hour spectrum, 20 minute situation or ceremony is just 20 minutes. It's more than that white dress and the food and the dance and all that. Um, it takes something, and showing your life and the journey and the epic children that you're raising, um, and how they express love with their spouses and how they love one another, um, is really an amazing testament, because I'm sure you've experienced the loss and that could be heavy. How did you keep through? How did you keep going? How are you keeping?
I found out very quickly that all I had the capacity to figure out as far as how to survive, was for the moment that I was in. And that started, so I started doing things like, okay, I need to breathe through my nose. Um, I need to make sure I'm breathing right. And I'd already studied a lot about breathing. So I really committed myself. Like I thought, it doesn't matter where I am in this process, I can always have control of my breath. And people really, honestly, I know this isn't about that, but it really is
No,
huge in life.
it is.
It's a really big deal to me. So
It
it
is.
actually, a lot of things before, when I was going through some other traumas that he was very supportive for me through. So I learned about it then. So I kind of just like took these different tools that I had learned because of other trauma. And I was like, oh, these are the things that are going to help me survive again. But they were just, obviously 24/7. And so I went into my breathing. And then when I realized, okay, if I'm going to feel good, like in an hour, I have to move my body. So I got committed to moving my body. And then, okay, if I'm going to feel better throughout the day, I have to learn what food to eat to make me feel better. So I got really obsessed with what I was eating and, making sure I was counting all the right things and all of that. And
Right,
so,
right.
what?
I said, right. That's so amazing.
Yeah, I just got that's what I thought was like right in the very beginning. I thought I had gone through one faith crisis in my life. My dad was a pastor. I was always a worshiper from the time I was, a toddler, but a worship leader from the time, that I was thinking that way and understood that that was a thing. And so always very committed. We were church planters. I was, my whole entire life was about promoting God and pointing people to God and helping people and bridging people from their experiences to God. And like, that was my whole identity, really. And then I did have a faith crisis in 2011 when we were in ministry, and I just got really hurt, like by people we had hired in our church and stuff. And so that was so traumatic to me that I felt this after a major epic faith walk. I got discouraged because like the hits kind of kept coming in that time.
Yes.
And I got so hurt that I did have like a dark 9 months where I felt like, God, why didn't you save me? Like, I've always been an advocate for you, and I thought you would save me. I thought you would protect me, like restore all of this, you know?
Right.
I had to learn during that time how to come back without questions answered, how to come back to faith without my questions being answered. And I had to really learn that the best question that I could ask was, do I want to live in faith or not? It was, why didn't God do the thing I wanted them to do? I learned that back then. And from that moment on, I used to say, I stepped back into the light, and I decided that my answer would always be yes, no matter what. And I took my kids in a circle, all of us in a circle. They all knew that I was discouraged, and they had never seen me like this before with my faith discouraged. And I took them in a circle, and I said, I'm sorry that I allowed myself to be disappointed in God this whole time. And I'm sorry that I wasn't the advocate that I've always been, and I'm coming back in, and like, here I am. And I went through the motions for about a year. I forced myself to sing when I didn't really feel like the words were true that I was singing, that I had written before. And after that process, and finally my heart caught up with my body and my brain decision, I thought, it is never worth it. It's never ever worth it to lose faith in any way. You always have. I decided in that moment, whatever ever happens for the rest of my life, my first thought is going to be, here is my line of faith. What can I do to get to it? I'm going to run to it, and then I'm going to figure everything out. I'm not going to figure it out. I'm going to run to it, and then I'm going to figure it out. So when this happened, I thought, I know what it feels like to go dark, and I'm not going dark. I'm going all the way in, and I'm standing strong with 2 feet in my faith. And so, like, I just literally did not allow myself for 1 second to go there. And I feel like that is why I'm okay. But once I did that, then I was like, okay, I'm going to feel good in my mind and my body. And I'm not going to do anything that causes disruption in my peace. I'm not going to be around any choices or say yes to absolutely anything that disrupts this tightrope walk of my peace and my faith. Like, those are the that is it. Nothing else will move me. So that's a long answer to
it's right on time. That's right on point. That's for anyone in any journey. You have to say, because this is a faith walk, this journey, and we think that it's supposed to be here, there, and everywhere. I think he's going to lay it all the way out and tell you, okay, Tiffany, on this day, or whomever's on this live, you got it on this day, it's going to be this way. Not knowing, if he were to tell it to you, would you do it?
Yeah.
Would you walk the journey?
Yeah, I would have been way too scared. I never would have thought.
No. Absolutely. No. And I love the fact that you were able to say, because that's the faith walk is not an easy thing. All that I can say is that my grandmother would always tell me, the journey is not easy. When you make that decision to follow him, that means that you have disrupted something.
That's right.
And the enemy can get real ugly about that thing. But it's for those who say, hey, you know what? I'm going to press forward, God, regardless of what it looks like, what it feels, and what others have to say. And for you to be able to take your kids and put them in that circle and say, you know what, God, I had my moment. Because life, we will all have our moment. You turn that thing around, and that was a turning point. And look at you now, Arthur, life coach, inspiring women to look for those who've been married, who think, oh my gosh, I just can't take it anymore, or this is that. Instead of just pointing the finger at the man, how do we look inwardly? Because I know for me, I can't change him. I love my husband. I love my man. My man. But only God can. And so when I stand in the gap for him, it's praying and making sure that I'm ushering him. And I'm not perfect either, right? And knowing that I'm not perfect. I mean, I look cute in this wheelchair, but I ain't perfect. And without the makeup and all that, we have to do the work, the hard work. And some people aren't ready. How do you get to that position?
If I was going to be really honest, okay, and
Let's do it.
not spiritualize and not
Let's get it.
sound more spiritual than it is a selfish reason. It's
Come on.
it's partially, at least, a selfish reason, and I think that this will evolve over time, maybe how I see it and word it. But what I knew is that in the darkness, when I had no hope, it was dark, hopeless, and everything was harder and hopeless. And hopeless is the best word for it. And when I stepped back into the light, I wrote a song. It's better to be in the light. When you don't have any other reason but that there's more hope and light in God, that's enough reason. You don't have to have your questions answered. For me, it was, I don't want to be alone and in the dark. And I also got really worried that I would influence my kids. Like, it all of a sudden it hit me. And I always used to be very aware of the weight that I carried to influence my kids and guide them and mentor them. I mean, that was like my main priority in life. And I had gotten so hurt that I lost my sense of my position in the lives of my kids and stuff, my spiritual position. And so, but I want to say that the first thing was my own pain. Like, I didn't want to be alone. And I knew that even though I kind of felt like God disappointed me, and he would say, like, I'd be driving to work, and I became a massage therapist during that time, and I would be going to do massages, and I would feel like God was saying to me, like Jesus was saying to me, do you want to hear from me? Because we used to just talk all the time. And there were times on that trip, on those road trips, when I would say, why would I want? And it breaks my heart that I did that, but I would say, why do I want to hear from you? You didn't protect me. So what is in it for me? Why would I do that? And so those were the kind of, I'm just being really honest, those were the kind of conversations that I would have. And that was back in 2012 or 13 or something, not this experience. And
right.
I went through that experience of basically like rejecting him. It was the worst time. It's the worst. I just felt this sense of just blackness all around me, and like no hole of light, you know. And it literally just felt like a ring of no light around me. And I knew that the devil was working overtime and just trying to steal my faith from me. And I remember the moment that I stepped back in and I thought, number one, I won't do this to my children. But number two, it is better in the light. It's better in the light. Even if you don't have your questions answered, it's better in the light. Even if the worst thing happened, it's better to believe. It just is. Right?
Yes.
There's my not answer.
Erin, when I reached out to you initially, I asked you for a song in particular that resonated with you. Do you remember that? And what was your song choice?
Oh my goodness, now you have to remind me. What did I say? I know it was Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston.
Yes.
And you did the gospel version of I Love the Lord. I did it was Jesus Loves Me. And I thought to myself, now, how could she have known that Whitney is still epic? And how fitting of that, because your voice is epic. And for you to sing, there was a moment where you were singing in the home past the piano and you lift your hands up. That's when you sold. That's when you got me. You got me there because you're right. He loves us. Jesus loves us, even in the midst. And you show that every time you go live. You could be talking about nothing. You could be sitting there posting the camera of your daughter singing, who has a beautiful voice.
in the restaurant and you peering over and looking at others enjoying their meal. And that to me, it says a lot about you and your heart and the passion that you're doing and how you're taking your light and you're shining it bright. And trust me, your husband, he's right there with you and he knows it and he sees it. And the journey is continuing in your family, even with your daughter-in-law, your friends. How do you begin raising epic children?
Well, you can call it epic children. And I mean, I just had such a strong desire to do the best I could to create great communicators and safe adults. I just was obsessed. Ever since I was a kid, I would look at someone and I would kind of look at their eyes and I would decide for myself in those first few moments, do they feel like a safe person? And if they did, I was just so excited and steered clear if they didn't. But if they did, I just always thought, like, these are my favorite people. I'm going to chase them down for my whole life, you know? And so when I always felt a little bit different. I always felt like a little bit more sensitive and concerned about how everyone else felt. I felt uniquely that way. And so maybe part of me, like, I want to create more people who are safe because it feels so good to find safe people. And so, you know, and my husband was just like the kindest person in the entire world. And we were both really similar that way, as far as we just got really excited when we found a really kind person, and we just talk about them and bring them into our lives. And so when we had babies, that was our whole goal, was make them feel safe and make them a safe person for each other and for others, and develop them into adult that we would just be like giving back and forth to each other whole lives and have just this beautiful life experience because we were so intentional with teaching and sort of sandpapering those areas in the moment as they come, and constantly just like kind of saying, no, this is the path, like, say this, don't say that, you know. It was just constant. They became so aware of these nuances in this dance that they began to do things like, when someone would do something that wasn't kind, they would just kind of look at us like, what are we going to do about that? And so they learned, and we always took those as teaching moments, and we were just constantly in teach mode, teaching them to be safe for each other and to look for safe people and create your inner circle with those people. And so, oh my gosh, it's just my favorite thing. We did so many beautiful things. I talk about some of those in my book.
Yes, you do.
Working on another one, but
congratulations.
Thank you. There's so many beautiful things that you can do to create the skill of communicating, to build a really beautiful dynamic with somebody. But I think that it's the two things that are so important, which is being a safe person for others and choosing a safe inner circle. That's kind of like half and half thing, you know?
Yes. So, one thing that you know for certain. What is it? One
thing I know for certain. Oh my goodness, to narrow it down. I think my first thought is, what I know for sure is standing strong in your faith is a choice that once you make it, that decision is over. You can figure out a lot after that and do your research and digging and all of the things throughout your processes. But what I know for sure is, when you choose, my faith is strong no matter what. It's like you've wrapped yourself around a tree that has roots, and you never have to decide that again. So that's what that is the foundation of my life. It's the foundation of my life. It's the strength of my life. It's the hope of my life. So I know that for sure. And I would just say, you can create the relationships that you want. I know that for sure because I've done it, and I've done a lot of hard work to not have it another way. So I didn't just like happen upon Tim, or, and as we've talked about, it didn't happen upon having sweet kids or sweet daughter-in-law or whatever. It is doable. It's doable
Yes.
to create the relationships that you want and have them the way that you want to have them. So that's what I really want everyone to know, because I think a lot of times people don't really think that it's possible, but with the right knowledge and the right understanding and the right communication, you can morph, and with the tiniest little changes, like little changes in your communication. You know that thing about, like, if you make the slightest little turn, you change the whole trajectory of your future by just, it's like a different direction, right?
The turning point.
It doesn't have to be like complete other direction or like all the way to the side, just the
Right.
tiny. That's what I want people to know, because I think that sometimes women think it's too overwhelming, it's too much, it's not changeable, but I believe that it is.
Thank you. You, ma'am, are an example of what the turning point conversations with Tiffany is about.
Aww.
It's turning it into perspective and changing the.
Wow.
And for those who are like, I don't see how I can. You are an example of what it is.
Wow.
And before we let you go, I have a request. And I sent it to you. I don't want people to think I just put you on the spot.
Yeah.
But would you please do the honor of singing Whitney Houston, I Look to You?
Oh, goodness. Okay, instead of, send me the first part.
Whichever.
Look to You, because I know Jesus loves me for sure, but remind me how Look to You goes.
No, do it. Do it. Whichever one you want. Do it.
I wanted to say, Lord, I look to You, I won't be over, but that's a different one.
Yeah. Do your thing.
I love her Jesus Loves Me version. I mean, who has ever done Jesus Loves Me like Whitney Houston? And I'm not going to do it like I'm going to do my own, but
do your own.
Yeah. Okay. Jesus loves me. This I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to Him belong. They are weak, but He is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Oh, yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me, for the Bible tells me so.
In this day and climate, we need that. And we need more people like you.
Oh, you're so
continue to spread the light. Use your gift. And may those who are watching may have been inspired to use your gift. Let whatever adversity that comes your way.
Yes.
Let that be the turning point. Use that to fuel you to redirect that thing.
Yes.
So that He can get the glory.
Yes.
And that we can all spread love.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you again, Miss Erin, for taking the time out for sharing your love and your life.
Thank you so much. And let me just say about, if you choose faith in your pain, it makes life more bearable. So if you have a choice, you're choosing a more bearable, beautiful life experience that's the best that it can possibly be, because your faith is strong and because you have that connection and you're not doing anything to, I don't know, to stop that connection. And so it's better for you. It's better for you. And he's never the one that does the bad thing in your life. He's the one that you run to, and he's the stable, the solid, the consistent one who's never ever he's never not done what he said he would do. It's just the things that you maybe thought he said or you thought he was going to do, he didn't. And so you have to constantly be changing your own self to come into alignment with who he is. When I had this trauma in my life, what I felt like was, oh, God is different. He's different than I thought he would be. I didn't think he would let this happen to me. So what do I have to do? I have to come against it, and I have to let it reshape me. So I take that as encouragement. If you're in pain, come against what you know to be true and let it change you, instead of deciding that you're mad at it.
That's it. That's it.
Thank you so much you've just been absolutely a doll in your communication to me. You've been so kind and so sweet, and I'm so thankful for everything you did to set this up and for the conversation. Really wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you so much. You're a blessing, and I thank you. And I send nothing but loves and hugs your way.
Too. Thank you so much.
Okay, my pleasure. Okay, you all. So that was Miss Erin Catherine Bruce. She is a blessing. And as you can see, I pretty much cried the whole time because she was speaking a word in confirmation. And I hope that each and every one of you were able to listen in and tap in. I want to say to everyone, thank you all for tuning in. This was an opportunity to set intentions of love. She spoke of love. She spoke of God's love. And right now we need it. And if not more than ever, make this day to be an intentional day of love. And so before I go, I love you. I do. And there is nothing, I mean nothing, nada, zada, zilch. There's nothing you can do about it. I'll talk to you next Tuesday. Later.